Have you ever stopped to look at little earthworms on the street after rain as they're trying to make their way across the road? It's a moment when you should in fact be very alert. You ought to be aware of the dangers. The worms are in the middle of a turn-based team fight and they have likely strewn the entire area with landmines. There's probably a literal airstrike on the way and their compatriots are aiming their bazookas at you from unseen directions. It's times like this when it's best to exercise caution and move out, maggot. To me, Team 17 has been a name and logo which has been synonymous with multiplayer fun, but none of their other games have stood out as much as the games of the Worms franchise. In fact, I had to decide not to bring each of the Worms games I have enjoyed over the years to the list, even though multiple of those would merit a spot in the top 100. This is to avoid too many worms crawling all over the list. Ugh. However, there is no better time than this to mention that my online multiplayer era of gaming began with this game's predecessor, Worms 3D, released in 2003. I met my first online friends and simultaneously my first foreign English-speaking friends while playing Worms 3D. Must have been about the ripe age of 15 around those times. This game was originally called Worms 4 Mayhem and later reformed into this Ultimate Mayhem edition. It carries over the same positive, fun-loving and humorous atmosphere which was already present in Worms 3D. At the same time though, it is subtly violent. I mean, look at this, the worm just got a baseball bat to the face. Youch! They may be spineless, but they are no wimps. Their facial expressions are hilarious, and I love the way the worms look around and react to everything that's happening. The general idea of the game is that 2 or more teams of worms are pitted against each other. Typically there will be between 2 to 6 worms in each team, and they battle each other with weaponry and cleverness until all the worms from one team have perished. Each weapon has a maximum damage it can cause, like a perfect bazooka hit will deal 50 points of damage, plus however many points you receive from fall damage. If you don't hit dead center, the worm takes reduced damage. The amount of time you have to take actions is limited, typically ranging from a harsh 30 seconds to a beginner-friendly 90 seconds. The matches are also timed, and if the match timer runs out, sudden death begins. That's when all the remaining worms are reduced to 1 hit point, or the water level starts rising. There's a plot-driven single-player campaign, which is a great introduction to playing these 3-dimensional Worms games. I would consider the entire campaign a sort of tutorial, even though there is a separate beginner's tutorial designed to familiarize yourself with the very basics. The campaign from Worms 3D can also be found here, and while it's a lot less intricate plot-wise, I find the challenges very enjoyable. All of this single-player material pales in comparison to the real fun to be had in these Worms games, which is in multiplayer. Online or as a couch co-op, this is definitely among my recommended games for a fun evening filled with laughter and randomness. The matches can be highly customized, with custom landscapes, custom game rules, health levels, all the way to how many worms and how many of each of the weapons are available. You can even activate moon physics or other similar crazy modifiers. It's a game where the most bizarre random lucky shots can take place, and with a surprising ease I might add. Some of the things I've seen while playing Worms games in the past have truly defied physics and logic. There are even compilations out there of the luckiest, best and worst shots in Worms games, which I recommend watching if you want to see some truly unlikely stuff happening. Let's talk about some of the weapons. The grenade and bazooka are the bread and butter of Worms weaponry, and oftentimes these two are available in unlimited supply. They both take a degree of skill to use, however. Bazooka shots are affected by wind and they have a ballistic drop to them. Straight up shots are definitely possible to nail even for beginners, but the really talented players can calculate the drop accurately enough so that they shoot their rockets up into the sky like artillery and actually hit their targets. Damn! The computer AI attempts this technique as well, sometimes even to a degree of success. But oftentimes they could have just used a straight shot instead though. The AI just makes some weird decisions. Grenades on the other hand are not affected by the wind, but you have to also figure out the fuse time between 1 to 5 seconds. 1 second throws are in my opinion the easiest to learn, but sometimes you have to hit enemies that are way outside of that kind of range. This is what I'd call a high skill ceiling kind of game. I already mentioned the baseball bat, which along with the fire punch makes for some satisfying slapstick humor.
For Queen and country. Of course you are. Take a giant step back for mankind. For Queen and country. Take a giant step back for mankind. Yep. For Queen and country.
See, that's absolutely slaptastic. The weapon arsenal is huge and holds in some weapons which border on the mass destruction scale. Just to point out one of the showstoppers, there's the banana bomb. It's a Worms franchise classic, which I am hopeless at using. For some reason I keep missing constantly, or then the first banana explosive which splits from the main grenade just throws my enemy away to safety from the other explosions. Not to mention I somehow usually hit my own worms with it. Damaging your own worms with explosives and weaponry is only one of the ways you might end up getting damaged. I mean, these are just worms after all. As such, they are quite susceptible to fall damage. In fact, you can only fall a bit more than the height of your worm before getting just a couple of points of damage, which ends your turn prematurely. What better way to celebrate this fragile state of being than to give the worms tools to reach higher heights? Girder platforms, jetpacks, potions that gives you wings. Oh, and the ninja rope has to be my favorite. See, it's not really a rope, it's like a stiff, solid, extending wire or something like that. It's crazy, look how you can balance yourself on top of it. Admittedly, it's not as fun as ninja ropes in two-dimensional Worms games, but it's a tool that allows for some creative ways to get around tricky terrain. Safe to say that these won't be the last Worms on the top 100 list, but what exactly was it that made this one such a great experience? Man, it's the formula. Every player in the game, computers included, are at the mercy of the same crazy physics, random mishaps, brilliance and chaos followed by the hasty decision making. In my opinion, it's well worth the time investment to learn the controls and get in on the hilarity that ensues once you fire up this game with your friends. That and the single player plot offers entertainment value for a less serious-minded gaming experience, especially for all friends of British humour.
No, can't see a thing. Hang on, I've got a match. I'll see what the problem is. What's this? Hey, who ordered the TNT fuse? TNT fuse? Ah, that's nice. The fuse sparkles when it's lit. There's some TNT in it too.
Well, we've lingered here on this worm-riddled road for too long. It's time to escape this mortal danger, make our way across the road and find out which game lies in wait. We barely escaped with our hides, so hopefully something less perilous.